This is Byron Kroll, and today we are talking about Intent Continuum, our data-driven marketing platform that outputs daily feeds of contacts who are currently researching products, services, and topical categories on the web. It connects with the Beeswax advertising platform to serve banner and video ads to those audiences, thereby turning them into fully privacy-compliant, first-party prospecting lists that you can then use for your own marketing or sales initiatives. Let's see how it works. Let's talk about the Intent Continuum prospect lifecycle. We start out by defining an intent audience within the platform. We'll look at how to do that in just a moment. But we take that audience, push it to the programmatic display platform. We deploy banner ads. We resolve those ad engagements back to the audience contacts that started them, and that yields your first-party prospect list. Now we'll talk about how to construct an intent audience. Intent audiences are made up of a few different elements. You start with a persona. Persona is a contact level filter that lets you determine what types of people, what types of contacts are in the audience. If it's B2B, you can then build a relevant account list either by uploading domain names, or you can use selection criteria like demographics, firmographics, industries, employee sizes, etc. You then select the intent topics that you want to be monitoring for both topic and signal strength. And then you take those first three, you bundle them together in an audience object, and then you connect that object to an export, and either goes out to a CSV on S3 or it goes to Beeswax so you can activate your display media. So here we are on the Intent Continuum platform, and you can see on the left here, we're in the segmentation section, which allows us to build the objects that we talked about. So first, let's look at personas. So within this persona menu, I've built a few personas for us to look at. Let's say we want to target people under the age of 45. First thing I can do is I can build those into separate segments for men and women. So for example, if I do this one and I look at men under 45, I've built a filter here that says gender is male and put in an age range. If you look at the fields that are available, you'll see that these come from the Universal Continuum database, and they're contact level fields. You can filter based on where they live, their home residence. You can also filter where their professional address is, in other words, where their office is. You can select by gender, age, married, all the consumer related fields, as well as their professional fields like job title, seniority, and department. Now, once you've built one of these personas, you can then run a count on that and see how many people are in here. So in all the US, in our database, we've got 36 million females, and we've got 32 million males. So now we can take these personas, we can bundle them together in a buying group. And we can say, give me everybody, males and females, in the state of Florida. So this lets us group these together. Here's women, here's men. These are the personas that we built that we can now turn into selectable criteria. Then we added persona being state of Florida. So now we have personas and a buying group. This is not a B2B campaign, so we're going to leave accounts alone. But now let's look at the intent. So in this case, on this experiment, we want to look at people who are researching personal injury law and lawyers. So we have two different intent topics here. One is a standard intent, which would be topics that are available here. So again, this is 21,000 topics that you can look up and research within the taxonomy that's provided to you to browse through, but basically gives you a best match when you type in any topic name. But you can see here that I've already added personal injury and legal services personal injury law. What I haven't done is added any intensity, right? So strength. So you can also add a strength. If I do this, you can see strength, and it's high or medium. Now, in this case, this one is the high. So you see the topic is the same, but the strength is high. Okay, so now we've got a persona, a buying group, and an intent signal. We can now wrap these up into an audience. So here are audiences that I've built that are constructed through the pieces that we've already put together. So let's look at women less than 45 years old with personal injury, topical interest. So you can see the persona is, oh, this is men, I'm sorry, men under 45, and here's the intent personal injury law. If I validate this audience, I can see I've got 63,000 men that are researching this topic in the last week in the state of Florida. If we do women, We validate this audience, same thing, it's females. We end up with 6,000, or about 7,000 ladies that have been researching this as well. Then if I go back and I apply the high intensity to the topic, this is personal injury high for the females. There were 7,000 in the other one. In this one, there's only 2,700. So high is they've engaged with 6 or more pieces of content. Medium is 2 or more. So 6 or more means that they've really been digging into a lot of different things that score well on this topic. All right, so now we've got our audiences, and now we can push those out to wherever we want, either to S3 to produce an Excel file that we can work with, or the preferred way is to push it over to beeswax. Now let's look at how we push these audiences out through an export. Well, if I want to take single women, there's an export done here, and this particular audience, and I validate the account again, then I can add a configuration here. And this lets me define an export. So I've set up an S3 bucket, which is basically just a disk drive that's going to accept an Excel file. I select how often this thing gets exported, either just one time or every day or weekly, etc. You select an audience. In this case, we're looking at men, 45 personal injury. And then you just define what the bucket is, or the folder where you want this to be. And you select the format. So this is a CSV file, so it's an Excel spreadsheet. You can see you can also export as, these are all programmatic advertising types. This is for web, BIDOs, and these MAIDs are to access phones or tablets. So they're mobile advertising IDs for mobile devices. And we'll look at how to do that in a little bit. What you can see here is that the file has now been pushed over into S3. This is an S3 browser that lets us go and look and see what's been pushed to the S3 bucket. Here's the file that we got, Moonbrush PI High, that was sent over there today. When we copy this and look at it in an Excel spreadsheet, I can see that these are the contacts that came out of the Universal Continuum database that match with that audience. This is a consumer list because these are people researching personal injury loss. The personal email is the element that is really the identifier and is mostly filled in. You've also got LinkedIn addresses for people that are professionals, and there's business email where available here as well. You'll see there's also phone numbers and all the age and demographic sort of stuff that's there. So it's very wide contact row. Okay, so now let's look at a different kind of campaign or audience. In this case, we're going to be looking for C-level professionals at small companies or HR professionals. So this would be director plus people that are either C-level or are executives or HR. And we want to make it 500 employees or more. So here's our persona, and then here's our accounts. This is a B2B kind of a campaign. So you'll see this is not government, not education, not finance or healthcare, and 1 to 500 employees. So we bundle those together, and then we say, what's the intent topic that we're interested in? We want people that are researching employee benefits. And you can see here what the topics are: employee benefits, healthcare, and large group health plans. So I'm going to put those together in an audience called employee benefits leads. And that looks like persona is, here's your executive in HR and finance, your employee benefits intent. And here's the accounts that we wanted. Okay, now I'm going to validate this audience. And today we've got 15,073 people who are doing that research. Okay, so now I'm going to use this for a lead generation campaign. So I want to push this over to display. So I'm going to export this over to beeswax. I'm going to do that through active exports. I'm going to go here and you'll see there's an active export to beeswax for employee benefits that goes daily. So every day we get the latest people who are researching this topic pushed over to beeswax. Okay, so now we're going to come over to beeswax. This is the beeswax display advertising platform. And you'll see I've got segments set up, which are basically the same thing, they're audience segments. This is one is called Employee Benefits Daily Intent, and it's set up for this campaign, and it gets the daily push of audiences out of Intent Continuum into it. This last count was 102,206 because it's matching also advertising IDs. So we have both how to reach these folks on the web, and we also know how to get them on their mobile devices. And once we have the audience that gets updated all the time, then we're going to serve them display ads. And here is an example of some of the display ads that we're sending them for this campaign. You can see we're doing content syndication where we're sending them a small business benchmarking report, getting them to download that from a registration form. So we serve this ad, and then the thing to keep in mind right here is that we've added a tracking pixel here in the setup. If I go back to the platform and I go to website scripts, you'll see that I'm able to add these tracking scripts from the Intent Continuum platform and then add them to beeswax. That allows them to fire as soon as the banner is shown. So let's look at the user journey for this employee benefits campaign. As we've said, we preloaded segments of C-level contacts into the Intent Continuum platform. We filtered them, we put them in beeswax, and now they're targeted on display ads. This is what an ad would be looking like on something like Forbes.com, NewYorkTimes.com, LA Times, a news site. What you'll see is here, it's up at the top of the screen, and this is engaged only, or this is displayed only to the people that are on our audience list. If they click on this ad, they're driven to this registration page, which is pre-populated based on the cookie that they've set that we already know who they are. And we're able to give them a much easier registration path. They hit download and they're given this report, and that completes the lead process. Now, if I go to the resolution section on the Intent Continuum platform and I go to Activate, this is where it's showing me the resolution of contacts that saw our media, that saw the display ads. And you can see we've got almost 14,816 for a week, and our total audience was only 15,000 people. So there's been some overlap because some have fallen off and some have been added. But that tells you the reach that this thing is able to get for you. Now, once I've got all these people engaged and in a resolution list, I can then export. I can filter it for one thing, but I can also export. And these are my contacts. You can put this into a CRM. You can email them. You can do whatever you want and be fully privacy compliant. So this is the resolution on people who have seen the ad. And then this is the resolution of people who clicked on the banners and went to the website. You got 40 of those folks who actually went and converted.